Welcome again to the Metacinema channel. Our topic today is a movie called Outpost. Let's start. The movie begins with a scientist and businessman Hunt recruiting former Royal Marine turned mercenary DC at a seedy bar in a town devastated by war to put together an elite squad of ex-soldiers prior a U.S. Marine called Jordan, a French foreign Legionnaire Cotter is a Belgian peacekeeper. Wojtki is a Yugoslav military. Mackay a British Army parachute regiment, and Torko of Russian Alpha Army to defend Hunt on a perilous trek into no man's land. They have been assigned to scouting for an ancient military bunker in Eastern Europe, most likely in Kosovo, according to one of the mercenaries named Wojtki. The region they are now traveling to does not contain anything significant. Meanwhile, the mercenaries can hear battle noises in the distance as they get closer to their target. Fighter aircraft and artillery can be heard passing above, and the mercenaries can also hear gunfire. They are unable to communicate with one another by radio. As a result of a tremendous burst of static that occurs as they go through the forest, the mercenaries are mystified about their purpose and why their employer has chosen to employ them. As the crew arrives at their destination, they find a bunker complex that seems to have been abandoned. The remaining crew members continue to spread out and investigate the outpost, while two of the mercenaries, Jordan and Taktarov, remain above ground to keep an eye on their backs. From above, Jordan sees a bright flash of light coming from the direction of a tree line. The two mercenaries think it is sunshine reflecting off the scope, so they begin firing, which causes the rest of the crew to come running back to the top. Another jolt of static can be heard over the team's radio, and then immediately after that, radio operator Mackay is heard as quickly as possible. DC concludes that it seems as if no one else is truly out there, as the only shot fired in response was the one that injured Mackay. To find a body or blood, Taktarov, who had been shooting against DC's command to stop, was sent inside the forest line. DC had already ordered the firing to stop. After waiting a minute, he went back inside and reported that there was no indication of a gunman. There were no dead, no blood, and not even any shot casings to suggest that anybody had been there. The mercenaries go back to work examining the bunker. Even though it seems to have been abandoned for decades, they locate a little contemporary metal crucifix necklace hanging in a neglected area of the bunker. After finding the generator that powers the bunker, DC and Hunt immediately go to work restoring electricity. Carter and Mackay are shocked when they find a chamber that is full of dead bodies, and they are even more alarmed when an arm suddenly emerges from the mound of dead bodies. They yell for Jordan, the team's medic, as quickly as they can. DC abandons Pryor in charge of Hunt's safety so that he and Jordan may get to the location and immediately begin providing medical assistance to the lone survivor. Goods after the lights are turned back on, Pryor finds himself in a room that contains a projection screen. When you lift it up, you can see a flag hanging on the wall behind it. Next, Pryor takes a few cautious steps back, gradually exposing the swastika that serves as the Nazi Party's insignia on the flag. Goods, who is comatose at this point, is subjected to interrogation by the mercenaries. With Mackay being especially harsh, the mercenaries think that the bunker was used by local paramilitaries to cover up evidence of racial cleansing. Pryor reveals to them the Nazi flag that he discovered, and Jordan speculates that the bunker may conceal a cache of wealth that the Nazis stole from the countries that they conquered during World War II. Because they believe that the person who fired at the Moliere was also seeking gold, DC gives the order for the rest of the crew to get their defenses ready for a prolonged stay. Mackay moves Goods to a nearby chair and sets up a command post in the middle of the room while Hunt starts to browse through a batch of paperwork. He then enters a rear room where he finds a strange spherical contraption known as Die Glocke. This device is an example of occult research conducted by the Nazis. He tells the former warriors about what he has discovered. Mackay decides to entertain himself by playing chess with Goods on the table that separates the two of them. While searching through a box full of personal items, he comes upon an ancient coin from Germany. After accidentally dropping it, Mackay goes down to pick it back up, only to discover the jackbooted legs of a couple of guys standing next to Goods. Mackay hurriedly threw himself to the side and read it is gone. But when he looked around, there was no trace of the two guys. DC walks into the room and is underwhelmed when he sees Mackay lying on the ground. They entrusts Mackay with the mission of restoring functionality to the radio. While this is going on, Hunt is working in the room with Die Glocke looking back over his shoulder. One can make out the silhouette of an SS soldier emerging from the darkness. Hunt moves toward the door after hearing a commotion In the background, but is unsuccessful in opening the door. As he fiddles with it, the SS soldier appears behind him out of nowhere, and heavy breathing can be heard. Hunt frantically turns around only to find that there is nothing there. After all, he's upset because he believes that one of the mercenaries was trying to pull a fast one on him. After that, he explains the theory behind Igorka to DC, which is that it was a project carried out by the SS during World War II with the goal of creating unstoppable troops via the use of reality shifting and reanimation. Additional paranormal occurrences keep happening to the soldiers who are stationed at the outpost. McKay is able to get the old bunker radio equipment to operate, and it begins broadcasting eerie static that sounds like screams before abruptly switching to playing classical music. McKay is unable to get the radio to stop operating despite the fact that he has unplugged it until it abruptly and unexpectedly turns off in a minor explosion. During that night, the area surrounding the bunker is suddenly covered in a spooky mist, and the shadows of S soldiers can be seen standing atop the ridgeline, which causes the mercenaries to begin firing their weapons. The mercenaries are forced to seek shelter because of the violent windstorm, despite the fact that all of their shots seem to have had no effect on the people that are located on the ridge. When they emerge from their hiding spot, Tochterov is nowhere to be seen. The mercenaries find that their Claymore landmines are still operational, which indicates that their adversaries were unable to approach within striking distance of them in any manner near the location where Tochterov is hiding. DC finds a badge of the Iron Cross and some blood on the ground. After returning to the bunker, Jordan demonstrates to DC the German rifle round that he retrieved while tending to McKay's wound. This particular round has not been in use since the end of World War II because of the bullet's crooked shape and other characteristics. It is very unlikely that it was shot from a rifle. DC brings Goods into an interrogation room and threatens him with a gun. Goods still does not talk, but it is evident that he has come out of his catatonia, which suggests that he may have been acting all along. DC wants an answer from Hunt on the job that the latter was given, which was to locate and retrieve massive generator-like equipment that was responsible for the reality shifting experiments that were conducted by SS. Han has come to the conclusion that the German tinkering with the fundamental properties of reality may have ensnared them inside the confines of the region around the bunker. He explains that his sponsors have connections in Interpol, and that if the team attempts to leave early, hitmen would be sent to go after the families of the mercenaries as well as his own family. He also says that his family will be targeted a short time later as the other mercenaries discuss their histories and keep watch. Wojtecki, who is off on his own on the other side of the perimeter, is silently stabbed to death by a pair of undead SS troopers. This occurs above ground, and Tochterov is brutally tortured and killed by the undead SS. The corpses of Wojtecki and Tochterov are discovered linked at the head. The next morning, Tochterof's skull is revealed to contain a spent bullet from the gunshot wound. The second murder was the last nail in the coffin for DC. He makes the decision to escape the bunker in spite of the danger posed by Hunt supporters. Hunt launches an impassioned protest and then retreats to the generator room. DC orders Carter to go and get Hunt from there. Carter eventually makes it to the generator room, but he chooses to disregard Hunt's urgent warnings that he should get ready to leave. Suddenly, Hunt comes to a halt and looks in amazement as the silhouette of another SS soldier materializes behind Carter. Carter gives Hunt the command to go when he hears the heavy breathing and notices Hunt's response. At the same time, he pulls his dagger and swings at the SS soldier, who ducks and buries a pickaxe in Carter's chest. Carter instructs Hunt to run. After that, the zombie SS soldier kills Carter by crushing his head with his weapon. Hunt grabs the Acom assault weapon that was previously held by Carter and shoots multiple rounds into the rear of the SS man, which only appears to aggravate it more. The remaining mercenaries come racing, but as they shoot at the person, it disappears before their own eyes. The video recording of the SS experiments is shown for the remaining mercenaries by DC and Hunt. The contents of the tape make it clear that Goods is in reality a surviving member of the SS Brigade 4 and the one who was in charge of conducting the experiments at the outpost. After becoming angry, the Prior immediately shoots him in the head with his gun. When Prior finally succeeds in killing Goods, the breather returns back to life. Nearly instantly, the lights go out and Mackay ends up dead. The squad finds his body near the entrance to the bunker. Once the lights come back on, the mercenaries and Hunt make an effort to restart the Glock in the hopes of neutralizing the abilities possessed by the zombie SS and luring them into a trap so that they may escape the outpost. The zombie SS garrison, which is now headed by Goods, engages in combat with the remaining mercenaries who have survived. The mercenaries make a measured withdrawal as the zombie SS make their way further into the bunker, making use of the confined space to buy themselves some more time. The escape that Pryor makes down one of the passages takes too long, and he ends up being overtaken. However, before he's ultimately eliminated, Pryor is able to finish off a couple of the zombie SS. Hunt is successful in getting Dive Locker to function, which causes a shockwave that seems to incapacitate the zombie SS that was assaulting the erratic machine. Immediately shuts down, and the SS are able to regain their footing and stand up again. Jordan had taken out a person in a side hallway that he dragged down. DC attempts to buy time for Hunt so that he may escape via the ventilation system of the bunker, but he ends up being overwhelmed and killed despite putting up a valiant fight until the end. After making his way to a pair of doors leading to an upper level of the outpost, Hunt is met by Goods and his soldiers who are blocking his entrance into the building. Hunt is brought to the ground from behind and put to death. The movie ends with the second corporate crew 72 hours later to carry out the identical duty, only to uncover a breather hidden amid the mounds of nude bodies. The area has been lighted up once again, illuminating the troops who are stationed all around the bunker. The Brigade 4 can be seen out in the distance, giving the SS troops the go-ahead to